Let's talk about it. The account value is probably your focus, Margaret. If you're worried about investment losses keeping you from retirement, then you are more than likely solely focused on the account value. I just had a review yesterday with a client who's been with us for just a year. So he came in, it had already started to get a little rocky in April of 2022. In fact, his portfolio was actually up year over year from April because it was a little bit measured off a lower point. But one of the things he asked me, the first question when he sat down and asked for the review, he said, am I still on track? Is the income going to be good? And that's the right question. I told him that. I said, that's the right question. It's not about the account value on any given day, on any given year.
Yeah.
It is about your income. Is your income in retirement going to be what you want and what you need? And Margaret, I would ask myself that question first and start to think about it from a monthly income perspective. What are your required income needs? In other words, what's it going to take to pay your bills in retirement? And then what do you want above and beyond that? What do you want retirement to look like? And then we can engineer backwards into the account value to determine if you can retire, in fact.
Well, and I think a lot of people don't know what to do with that lump sum. Like Margaret, and we don't know how much she has, but if you've got $500,000 or if you've got $5 million, what does that mean in terms of income? And most investors don't really know that unless they've sat down with a financial planner, a financial advisor to really go, okay, here's what this can do for you in terms of income. Scott, we looked at a 3-year timeline. I want to look a little bit more recently even. Today, we've hit the 6-month marker from October of 2022 when we hit the low point in the S&P 500. Since the 25.4% drop in the index that we had from January of 2022 to October 12th of 2022, through that date, the S&P has rallied from that low point in October to now 15.1%. And so we still, Margaret, you are not alone in still using this rally cry of I am scared. We hear that regularly. What we want you to hear is, yes, but where is the market really? Right. And from the low point, we're up 15.1%. If you're still looking at a 1-year marker, then yeah, it's probably down in those growth-oriented investments. But again, it is not about, as you said, Scott, it's not about the account value. It is about your income.
Now, let's be very clear. In retirement, walking into retirement, even less than 10 years away from a planned retirement, you should not be 100% in equities and expect to take those dips full on with your entire portfolio. That goes back to what we said about planning. In our planning process, the Ready to Retire process here at GenWealth, there's going to be an investment strategy that ideally gets put into place 10 years or less from retirement. And as you walk into, doesn't have to be, by the way, Margaret, if you're ready to retire tomorrow, you can still put that Ready to Retire process in place. But the investment strategy, Janet's going to be laid out in basically identifying, once the income goal has been put out there, and this would be the portion of discretionary income that you want to spend in retirement. Let's say you want $1,000 a month to come to you in retirement from your assets. The $1,000 you're going to take in those first couple of years is going to be out of the market, right? It's going to be the first year may even be cash, CDs, right? Money market funds. It could be something very low risk so that you know you're going to be able to get that $1,000 out on a monthly basis without the values going haywire. As we step out and identify what you're going to need 5 to 10 years out, there's going to be a little bit more risk on that because we know there can be more reward. We talked about the real estate investment trust already in today's show. That gets placed into about a 10 to 15-year bucket of money, if you will. It's designed to be left alone for a decade. So you reinvest those distributions, you get the capital appreciation, you get return on your investments, and then begin to utilize those as you get farther down the road. And then the equity buckets are really meant, Janet, to be 15 years plus before you really touch.
Yeah, and so when those buckets go down in value, it's okay. That's literally when, spouses look at each other and one is normally more the worrier than the other one. And they'll go, honey, we're down $30,000 here. And the other one looks at it and goes, hey, remember that we don't need that for another 15 years. Where do you want to go eat tonight?
Yep.
And that's it. And I don't want to, belittle that conversation. That's literally, like, couples have come in and told us this is literally what we just talked about. These are the conversations that are really happening in their homes, because when you realize that you don't have to have that tomorrow, you feel differently about it. And I will say one more thing to Margaret, and this is something, if you're a regular listener, you hear us say regularly, but I firmly believe it. Education is the antidote to fear. And when I hear you say in your question to us twice that you're scared, then I would just encourage you to get some education that is relevant to your specific situation. So if you're scared about whether or not you can retire, let's answer that question, because instead of living with the fear, I would rather know I can retire, or even know, you know what, I was right, I can't retire right now. I'm going to have to wait a little bit, but now I have a plan.
Yeah. So for Margaret, or anybody listening in Margaret's situation, if you're scared and you don't have a plan, if you'd like to walk through the GenWealth Ready to Retire process, we're open right there. Just call us toll-free, 866-653-PLAN. That's 866-653-7526, and get a chance to talk to Anna Olive. She is our client introductory specialist. She'll match you with a GenWealth financial advisor to get you started down the road of building that plan.